everyone. This is Akeem of Sami Arts with another interview with Soke Larry Spartan Lockhart Jr., founder of Lockhart Combative Systems. Good day, sir. How are you?
Fabulous, sir. How about yourself?
Oh, magnificent. I'm really glad to have you on my show here.
Yes, I'm born and raised in San Antonio, although I lived part of my life in Austin as well. My mother reared us in Austin, and my dad here in San Antonio, so I got the best of both worlds. But I take it back to, as you hear this 1,000 times, Bruce Lee. My father was a Bruce Lee fan. He's actually an avid martial artist at that time of the Bruce Lee craze here in America. So, of course, as a baby child of a martial artist, my father watched a lot of kung fu movies. So we were at the theater constantly, and there was always a Bruce Lee movie. So I think that was something that had a direct influence and impact starting off in the youth of my training. I started at the age of 2. So I pretty much was doing martial arts as I was walking and talking. My father was instrumental in, maneuvering my hands and my legs as a baby. And so I guess by the time and some of those things in childhood, you have to forgive me, I don't recall, but I do recall just being stretched and taught movement and I think that I was born prematurely, so that had something to do with it. My parents making sure that I got a firm foundation on my athletics due to the fact that I almost didn't make it. I was born at 6 months. So uh, seems like I was predestined for the martial arts, from that birthhood of my mother and father making sure that I was not only capable of defending myself, but giving me confidence and giving me the ability to stand up for myself in the course of my lifetime, which those are things that every child needs, to have the ability to stand up against bullying, and also to stand up and just feel confident that you can, make it out here in this world. And I got a firm belief from that from my parents, especially my great grandparents and grandparents. So, well-rounded family setting that allowed me to be successful in some of these areas. My father started teaching martial arts, I guess, in the mid to late 70s. He was also a DPS officer. So his format for learning martial arts or his principal application for it, I'll let digress. He started as a child. He was fortunate enough at some point to go to Japan. So apparently, while he was in Japan, he was studying martial arts as a teenager, preteen. I would say somewhere around that era. Then he comes back home. He actually started martial arts here in San Antonio, Texas, under a gentleman of the great late athlete Chittum, Grandmaster Chittum, taught him martial arts. And his adult life, he decided he did not want to have to shoot everybody that he engaged if there was a stressful situation or a violent situation. So he reverted to trying to find a non-lethal way of dealing with people that he came through law enforcement. So it gave him an alternative. Instead of having to take a life, why not be able to use another format which could actually keep another person, keep people safe, but at the same time, not necessarily end the life. So therefore, that allowed him at that time to finish his martial training. And of course, he's had some of the greats here in San Antonio. Grandmaster Alvin Francis was also instrumental in working and training with my father. They were, I would say, competitive brothers, but also shared the deep love for the martial arts. And also the late Grandmaster Richard Dixon, who's also a martial artist here in town that was very influential in helping to develop our martial attributes. These guys shared a lot of knowledge. Between my father and those two gentlemen alone, you probably got well over 200 years of martial arts combined knowledge right there alone. But as life goes on, you tend to pass down knowledge to your children and or to your martial children. I say children because not only the people that you are training in your household, but those that your extended family. You know, through martial training, people become family, and that's been a wonderful setting that we've all shared. Yes, I've been very fortunate. I used to work out as a child and train with Golden Greek, Demetrius Advantage. He was the king of kickboxing, fabulous martial artist, but besides being just a fabulous martial artist, just a wonderful human being. As I stated, I got to work with the takedown king, Alvin Francis. Grandmaster Francis is phenomenal in working with me on teaching me how, what I would call ringside. You know, he gave me the confidence from being a national fighter himself and champion, how to maneuver it and think about what I was doing and how to apply it. Uh, Eternal Grandmaster Joe Louis, yes, the first heavyweight kickboxing champion of the world. He taught me how to box. Um, I was already pretty proficient with my legs at some point. I was 15, and I think I was a bit overconfident. I think that's one of the words I'll use. And my father decided that it was a good time to expose me to some things. Now I take that back. I was 15. And he decided to expose me to another format of martial arts, which was kickboxing. Show me that I needed another level in my uh, martial arts understanding and humbleness. So he had me working out with Grandmaster Joe Louis for quite some time. Our first engagement, I'll never forget. The man drops me with an uppercut at 16 years old, and I'm thinking, this old man basically has beaten me up. Why? And it wasn't a beating up; it was a breakdown in humbleness. You know, to share with me that he was capable of teaching me something because I had kind of gotten, as I said, a little bit cocky. Well, that was my humbleness training, which my father created. Quite unique. In between that time, I moved on from working with him. I had the chance to work with Grandmaster. Yeah, excuse me, just a second. Got something in my throat. I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Oh yeah, no.
I got a chance to work with the late great Junior Reed, and he came to he brought martial arts to Texas in 1956. So, in a roundabout way, he helped the southern Texas part of Texas while he was here coming from Korea, and then traveling with us to Austin and then Washington D.C. He was instrumental in teaching the U.S. Congress and Senate, and also at one point in time, he was also the trainer of at the time the heavyweight world champion Muhammad Ali. So I've had the ability to work with some of the greatest martial arts legends of our time, and I live right here in San Antonio, Texas. Yes, I think by the time I was 10, I think I knocked out my first belt. Um, that was well, by the time I was 10, I understand back in that era of martial arts, there weren't a lot of children that actually did martial arts in the late 70s. So going into the 80s, you have this wider spread of martial arts that spreads through with the help of the Karate Kid. But I've been an AOK martial arts champion, which is the amateur organization of karate. Um, I've been a champion in that league from my childhood on, almost every division. So by the time I was grown, um, knocking out had become a specialty, but not something that I chose just to averagely do. It was a point fighting game at the time, but it was a bit more fierce. The opponents were actually using martial arts, and as you got hit, sometimes you could get hurt. It is a contact sport. I like contact sport, but sometimes it got a little bit more contact than you might have bargained for. But definitely a lot of fun.
Wow.
That sport in particular teaches humbleness, teaches respect, and it teaches a lot of discipline.
Mm,
Because if one mistake you may solidly pay for it.
instructor.
Actually, I started before I was a teen. yeah, I got a taste of teaching. My father was, wow, as you make me think back to this, I keep saying my father, but it reminds me of just how much of the instrumental training in my youth, was given. During my summers, we spent a lot of time in the dojo. Most kids were maybe out in the playing on the playground, or they were doing whatever collective sports they were doing at the time. But we were in the martial arts world almost 24/7. And with that side being with my father. So the dojo was my playground. The dojo was where I spent my days, my nights, my evenings, my weekends. Between that and sport tournaments, children teaching did happen by the time I was about 13, 14, um, where my father was working with a company called Professional Karate Institute. And during that time, um, I got a chance to work with the youth. So I started teaching, and I apparently did so well that I started receiving a school stipend as a sort for teaching. I'd come in, I'd clean the mats, sweep the floors, make sure the dojo was tidy, and then on top of that, I would teach the youth classes. You'd start teaching with stretching. I'm working with the stretching, then you work on specific skills. So the ones that were really in need, the higher belt ranks were required to go back and work with the younger ones. And so that just became one of my gifts, I would say. I've been really fortunate and blessed from that area to continue to work with the youth from that to the onset current. Well, I would definitely say that time has changed, and so the martial formats of how you impart knowledge on students can change it's over time because each generation is a different generation. But true teachings, the moral principles and codes of conduct, that never goes away. Good ethics never goes out of style. So those are one of the first formats of martial teaching I spend my time with. You can teach anybody to hit, kick, and punch, but to teach a person the proper reason for why you use martial arts or why even you don't use martial arts at a certain point in time is also extremely important. In doing so, I teach the youth to spend more time. I teach what's called verbal jujitsu. Verbal jujitsu is a way of communicating with a person to de-escalate a situation, exclusively a hostile situation. So if you spend your time working on correct and kind words in an environment that is not using correct and kind words, it tends to tone down or de-escalate a situation. If you show kindness and humbleness versus being aggressive and combative, then it tends to break down a negative situation. But you have to learn how to use that, just like you know how to learn how to throw a jab, a hit, kick, or a punch. The words we use is the first format from a self-defense standpoint. It's really the first, it's going to be the last. So you have to speak and think about what you say before you speak. And always remember to be positive and kind. Be positive and kind with those that are around you and then those that aren't around you. The more you practice something positively, the better the outcome of what you're doing is going to be. So those are simple principles that I do teach the youth at our training camp. Wow. Bringing back to history. Yes, Texas Wild Boys. That was an amazing sport and martial arts time. Quite fortunate to fight with some of the best fighters in the United States of America at that time. And formulating that team, it led for us to work with or spread our influences in the martial arts to other schools and other communities because we became pretty popular uh, through our sport, which was just phenomenal.
Wow.
But it allowed me the time to actually see that even with respect and notoriety, for instance, that you have to definitely stay humble. And children will do something. You notice I've said that word several times in the course of this meeting. But children, They don't really believe. It's not so much what you say; it's what you do. They mimic, they feed off what they see. So that's what they're taught first in the most of teaching. And that time period allowed me the ability to really keep my coattails in check because I had little ones, I had young adults, I had teenagers looking at what I was doing. And so um, the impact of how you train and influence a child can be very instrumental on how you're on stage fighting and competing and how successful you are. People want to put on your coattails. They want to shake hands. They want to spend time with you. They want to understand what you're about. Well, in that time period, you have the opportunity to reach to a person and polish off, whatever dust they may have to help make them shine. You impart knowledge, pass on good positive energy, then allows you to stand out a bit more in life. Because the final purpose with your martial arts is still in general is to help others. So that was a great time that allowed me to help others. And as I got older, I was able to understand that more. At the time, it was just, hey, I'm fighting, I'm having a good time. But I always want to make sure I leave a child with a smile on his face and understand that he can do this too. This is a sport that can give you the opportunity to travel the world. And as a youth and player, I got to see some amazing things coming from the east side of San Antonio. I never would have thought that that time period would allow me to meet people, execute in movies, um, a bunch of different opportunities. But it happened through working through a sport, through a lot of hard work that my parents supported from my childhood, forward. Well, I'd like to take the time to let everybody know that adversity, that word adversity is something that is a constant challenge that you will face in your life. It doesn't matter whether you're two or you're 102. Adversity and the challenges of life are always going to be there, but it's the outlook. It's how you look at the battles you face or the challenges that you face. You know, there's always a brighter day. There's always a better sunshine. But how can you enjoy the sunshine if it's always sunny? Sometimes it needs to rain. The rain makes things grow. Sometimes there needs to be a storm. And in between that storm, you get to see the rays of sunshine after those effects. So we get what's called seasons. We get seasons of greatness. We get seasons of downtime. We get seasons of joy, and we also get seasons of sorrow. Those all complexities are some of the things that were created from above.
Hmm.
And since they were created from below and given to us below, we have to go through adversity. And through those adversities, our greatness shines forth.
Hmm.
And I'd like everybody in this world to remember that you have a higher power that loves you. And your martial artist, whether you're a martial artist, whether you're an artist in general, whatever talents you have, because each of us have something great within us. Shine bright. Go forth. Remember, knowledge in your mind, honesty in your heart, and strength in your body. Go forth and be successful, folks. Blessings and love to everyone. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Rumble, young man, rumble.
That was cool.
Hey, thank you very much.
You too, sir. Bye bye.